Marcus Bennett stood beside his gleaming red Ferrari, adjusting his bow tie as the evening sun cast golden light across the marble steps of the Riverside Hotel. At 32, he had everything: a tech empire worth millions, a penthouse overlooking the city, and enough luxury cars to fill a showroom. Tonight's charity gala would add another trophy to his collection, the Humanitarian of the Year award. He smiled at the irony. The valet team scrambled to park the arriving vehicles as Marcus checked his watch. That's when he noticed the old truck sputtering up the circular drive, a relic from another era, its faded brown paint telling stories of decades on the road. The other guests whispered and pointed. Security moved forward, but Marcus raised his hand to stop them. Behind the wheel sat an elderly man, perhaps 70, with a white beard and weathered hands gripping the steering wheel. He wore work clothes, tan shirt and brown pants, and carried himself with a quiet dignity that money couldn't buy. His name was Samuel Richardson, though Marcus wouldn't learn that until later. Samuel climbed out slowly, his joints protesting the movement, and walked toward the entrance with a small paper bag in his hand. He moved past the sports cars and limousines without a glance, as if they were merely part of the landscape. "Excuse me," Marcus called out, unable to contain his curiosity mixed with something darker. "Are you lost? This is a private event." Samuel turned, his dark eyes meeting Marcus's with unexpected steadiness. "I'm delivering something," he said simply, his voice carrying the warmth of someone who had lived fully and learned deeply. In that, Marcus gestured toward the truck, and several guests laughed. "That thing belongs in a junkyard, not here." Samuel looked at his vehicle with affection. "She's been good to me. 43 years we've been together. She's never let me down." Something about the old man's calm dignity irritated Marcus in a way he couldn't explain. Perhaps it was because Samuel didn't seem impressed by the Ferrari, the designer suit, or the crowd of admirers. He simply stood there, comfortable in his own skin. "Tell you what," Marcus said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "I'll make you an offer. My company is yours if you can outrun me with that junk." The crowd gasped. Marcus Bennett's company was valued at over $50 million. The statement was absurd, reckless, the kind of thing that would make headlines. Samuel studied him for a long moment. "You're serious?" "Completely. One race. Your truck against my Ferrari. If you win, you get everything I built. When I win, you admit that old things need to be replaced and forgotten." Marcus expected the old man to walk away or laugh it off, but Samuel didn't either. Instead, he nodded slowly. "All right, but I choose the route." "Agreed," Marcus said, confidence surging through him. There was no way that ancient truck could outrun Italian engineering. Samuel pointed toward the old highway that curved to the hills outside town. 20 miles, ending at Miller's Creek Bridge. The road I've driven for 40 years. They set the race for dawn the next morning. The news spread to the gala like wildfire. Marcus's lawyers tried to talk him out of it, but he refused to back down. His pride wouldn't allow it. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Samuel's eyes. There was no fear in them, no desperation, just a quiet knowing that unsettled something deep inside Marcus's chest. Dawn arrived cold and clear. A small crowd had gathered despite the early hour. Marcus sat in his Ferrari, engine purring like a predator ready to strike. Samuel sat in his truck, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on a photograph Marcus couldn't quite see. The signal was given. Marcus's Ferrari shot forward like a bullet, the acceleration pressing him back into the leather seat. He watched his rearview mirror, expecting to see the truck shrinking into the distance. But Samuel kept pace, that old engine somehow finding power Marcus hadn't anticipated. The road climbed into the hills, twisting and turning. Marcus pushed harder, taking curves at dangerous speeds. Still, the truck remained visible, not falling back as physics demanded it should. Then Marcus saw why. Where he braked hard for curves, burning rubber and losing momentum, Samuel knew every turn by heart. The old man had driven this road 10,000 times. He knew where the pavement dipped, where the shoulder widened, where you could carry more speed than seemed possible. Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. His Ferrari was faster, but Samuel was wiser. The old man anticipated every curve, every rise and fall, driving not with aggression, but with understanding. As they approached Miller's Creek Bridge, Marcus made his move. He floored the accelerator on the final straightaway, pulling ahead. Victory was seconds away. But then his engine sputtered. The fuel gauge, which he barely glanced at in his confidence, showed empty in his arrogance. He hadn't bothered to fill the tank. The Ferrari coasted to a stop 200 yards from the bridge. Samuel's truck rumbled past at a steady pace, crossing the finish line while Marcus sat in his dead vehicle, watching. Samuel parked and walked back to where Marcus sat, stunned. The old man's face showed no triumph, only compassion. "I wasn't always a delivery man," Samuel said quietly. 40 years ago, I owned the largest construction company in 3 counties. I had fancy cars, too. I had everything you have now, and I thought it made me better than everyone else. Marcus looked up, really seeing Samuel for the first time. Then I lost it all in a single bad decision made from pride. My wife stayed with me through everything. We bought that truck together with our last savings and started over, making deliveries, doing honest work. She passed 5 years ago, but I kept the truck. It reminds me what really matters. Samuel pulled out the photograph he'd been holding. A young couple standing beside that same truck, decades younger, eyes full of hope and love. "You can keep your company," Samuel continued. "I don't want it. But maybe you need to ask yourself what you're really racing toward and what you're leaving behind in the dust." Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest. When was the last time he'd called his mother? When had he last done something that wasn't about proving his worth through money and possessions? He'd been so busy racing forward that he'd never learned the road. "Teach me," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. Samuel smiled, the kind of smile that had weathered storms and found peace on the other side. "Come by the depot Monday morning, 6 a.m. We start with the basics." Over the following months, Marcus spent his mornings riding in Samuel's truck, learning routes, making deliveries, talking to people he would never have noticed before. He learned that Mrs. Patterson on Elm Street waited all week for her medicine delivery because it meant someone would check on her. He learned that the Rodriguez family's grocery order was carefully timed to arrive before their kids got home from school. He learned that business wasn't just about profit margins. It was about people. Marcus kept his company, but he changed how he ran it. He started a program hiring older workers others had discarded. He learned their names, their stories, their wisdom. Profits actually increased, but more importantly, so did purpose. The Ferrari stayed in the garage most days. Marcus found himself driving Samuel's old truck more often, delivering not just packages but connection, not just goods but goodness. On Samuel's 71st birthday, Marcus threw him a party at the company headquarters. The old man stood among the employees he'd inspired, the lives he'd touched through one young man's humility, and smiled that weathered, peaceful smile. "You know," Marcus said, raising a glass, "I thought I was racing for pride that morning. Turns out I was racing toward wisdom, and I'm grateful I lost." Samuel put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Son, you didn't lose anything. You found what was there all along, just waiting for you to slow down enough to see it." The old truck still runs today, carrying not just cargo but a legacy, that true wealth isn't measured in speed or status, but in the depth of our character and the breadth of our compassion. Sometimes the oldest things carry the most valuable lessons, and sometimes losing a race is the only way to find your way home. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below telling us about someone who taught you a valuable lesson about what really matters in life. Your stories inspire us to keep sharing these moments of connection and wisdom.